if I was watching this, I would want me to ask you, how do you feel about barbers raising their prices?
But even back like in the Western, the wild, wild West, and even back when, America, everybody was coming to America, whatever, barbers were called blood surgeons. Barbers would not just cut hair. They would pull out teeth. They would be your dentist, amputated legs and arms and just crazy stuff.
You can also basically give somebody the look of having a thicker head of hair through
SMP, scalp micropigmentation.
I'm sick. If you're listening to this or you're watching this, Troyer is praying for you without your consent. Hey guys, and welcome to the PP. On today's episode, we are at a barbershop, a brand new one, in fact, with the Legends Barbershop. We're here with Adam and Troyer, the Troyer brothers, if you will. These guys are awesome. I love what they're about. Just the shop alone, and also their online store. If you guys want to check out the link down below, feel free. But with that being said, I'm super excited for this episode. And to get things kind of started, I really wanted to start with how you started and how this shop became to be what it is. And if they're watching right now, they can kind of see some of the shots I took of how beautiful the shop is, how much money you guys actually put into making this a really high quality barbershop.
Yeah, well, it started back in 2020 because I was cutting in New Orleans before that, but then I came back and I've always lived here in Slidell, born and raised. And I ended up in this little shack, if you would call it. It's cinder block shack, no insulation, 200 square feet. And I just started the brand. And, it took a long time, year to 2 years, to really build up a name for myself and really grow the brand. And then at a point I couldn't do it by myself. And me and my brother are close, but we're closer than we've ever been. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. So as I'm cutting his hair in my chair, which he finally let me cut his hair because he wouldn't for a while. You're not professional enough.
It's a very brother thing to do, though.
It's very brother thing to do.
I was like, when you graduate and you finish school, then you can cut my hair.
Crazy. He still didn't come though after I graduated. I'm just saying.
Well, but you were in the world.
I was cutting his hair and I was like, yeah, dude, I really want to. I have this vision that God gave me, and I know that I'm only doing this because God put me in this position to cut hair. Right?
Is that what made you want to cut hair? Because that's what I was just curious about.
Why would before I really got saved, I was drawn to it because I just saw how creative it was, and I like to work with my hands. And it was honestly I didn't even try. It was just I stumbled into the industry.
Well, before that, you were working at Paul Mitchell school here.
I was a marketing coordinator, but it was because before that I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods retail. Yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I think I was 19, 20, and then I was working that, and then I was like, you know what, I think I want to do hair because I got to work for a year and a half inside the industry, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to do hair. Not really women's hair, don't want to do makeup and stuff, but I like barbering, and so I started out as a cosmetologist, but then I became a barber as well, so I'm dual licensed. But
that's beautiful.
As I'm in that shack and I'm trying to build a brand, I talked to him about it, and he's in a different industry, but he understands business more than I do. Mm-hmm. That's the Excel spreadsheet kind of guy right there. I don't touch that nonsense.
I live for Excel.
Yeah, dude. He is that guy with
I don't get it
numbers.
either. I have to use them, but I don't get it.
I don't understand it. But that's why when we talked, I was like, man, I really want to grow. And then we had an opportunity to go from that little shack right by Erlanger and Griffith Park. And then we moved right across from tacos and beer. And we had a 720 square foot shop, and we were able to put 6 chairs and eventually 7 chairs. And then we filled it up, and really God filled it up. We're stewarding the shop.
It's about a 2-year process, roughly, to fill that shop up. So
you went straight into your own shop instead of working out of another shop?
Yeah, it technically, even when I started, it wasn't necessarily a shop. It was just a shack, and I just had 1 chair. Okay. And then I eventually put a 2nd chair in there.
Well, what happened, one part that you missed, is he was cutting at a barbershop in New Orleans, right off Porter Street, Barone Street, I think it was, right?
Okay.
I think I missed what happened is I would say it was not a good place from an owner's perspective, right? Now that we're owners, and I worked with a lot of different people, and this guy wasn't probably the best owner for Robert and for that barbershop. And they parted ways, and he was left with, what am I going to do? Right? How am I going to work? All I know is cut hair. So By the grace of God, this little shack opened up. It was ready to go. It was $200 a week you had to pay or something, $125 a week.
It was like 150, 175 a week I had to pay
Yeah.
for that whole place. That little 200.
So it was literally opened up the same day he parted ways and didn't have a job.
So I'll say the one thing that led me to you guys' shop versus many others is my idea of a barbershop. I don't know if it matches up with everyone else's, but it was basically like the spa for men, like a place you go, you chat with the barber, you kind of talk about whatever, you get cleaned up, and just like going to the gym and you feel more confident because you look better.
Right. Look good, feel good.
Yeah, you look good, you feel good. You go to the barber shop, go to the gym, get yourself cleaned up. But barbershops are also seen in a sense of, especially like New Orleans, they might not always be in like the safest places. Whereas y'all's shop, there's all kinds of people that walk up in here. But the one thing I noticed is it's also very family friendly.
Yeah.
In a weird way. Not saying that all barbershops aren't, but it's hard to explain. Like the depiction of what you think a barbershop is or should be.
Yeah.
Well, Slide Out is a great place, first off. There's a lot of support, even from local businesses, politicians that run the city, police department, the fire department. It really is a great place to open up a business, right? And that's one of the reasons we lived here. We wanted to open up something where we live and we don't have to drive. I've always had to drive to work. 40 minutes, an hour and a half, it didn't matter. I always had to drive. And I still do to this day. So opening something where we lived was important. Yeah. And, through what you just heard is how it all happened.
Yeah, so I know the last place you were talking about, it was basically the size of this back room, essentially from like front to back.
Yeah.
Could have been small.
Was it?
It was pretty small.
Was it scary?
With a window unit.
Was it scary opening this up?
I'll be honest. Fear was out the window because we weren't really fearful because we knew God was taking us somewhere. We just didn't necessarily know where at the moment. And to be transparent, I was skeptical about this place. I really didn't want this location per se because I saw something that to me in my eyes looked better, but God had something else in store. He had peace and comfort about this place. I didn't, but the Lord was dealing with me. And so I had to work at that personally at a personal level, and I had to grow in that aspect. And, once I surrendered and I was like, okay, Lord, if this is where you want us to be, you open the door that no man could shut, then we'll go ahead and walk through it. And then here we are, starting the process in November of 2024. Right. And then we opened up at the end of January, beginning of February. And now we have all of this by the grace of God. And it's so surreal because I dreamed about it. I saw it in my head, but actually physically being in it was crazy.
And I also think kind of backing up because, again, you never know who's watching, right? And we're partners and we're also brothers. So it's a different dynamic.
People love a brother team.
Right? So it can always be a different dynamic in where most people might not realize this, but we're 14 years apart and I am the older one, even though some may not agree with that. I am the older one. But, when we were brought to this place, we went through 2 other places before and they were amazing. We're like, oh yeah, God's going to do this, God's going to do that. And then it never happened. And we're like, why? We're like, why, God? Like, you're leading us here. Like, why?
That was tough.
And we didn't realize this at the time, which in most cases is how it happens, right? You don't realize until later. But God was placing us here. So when I first found out about this place, it's the same landlord we had before, and he told me about it. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's in Old Town. We originally wanted to stay in Old Town. It's a bigger building. It's a standalone building, and it had a parking lot. I'm like, oh man, this could be great. Saw it, prayed about it. And it's kind of crazy to really put it into words, the kind of peace that I had, right? And it was something that really never experienced before. And he was the one struggling. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give him his space because he's going to see what I see. He's going to have the peace that I have. It just might take some time because he's a visionary.
Well,
right?
Let's say when you have something that you want to do, you can't do it if you don't have a vision for it. Mm-hmm. Right? the way you go about it, it may not be always step 1 to step 2. I've said it in literally almost every single episode to this point. The 4 steps to making a plan. You make the plan, you execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails and throw away the plan.
Yeah.
As in, like, you may not always need to know why. You just know that you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have a vision for it. It might not always end up the same way that you plan on doing it, but it's in the same way of finding your purpose. Like when you started, your purpose isn't found, it's forged, right? You only know by doing. It's kind of like, and the Bible actually says it this way. Your life should be a living testimony. It's not about the things you say. It's about the actions you make and the things that you do.
Yeah,
So when
absolutely.
I say your purpose isn't found and it's forged, I mean like a blacksmith beating a piece of metal into shape and forging something to create something beautiful. At the beginning, it's just a raw stick of metal. Like when you started doing it, it's just some guy, right?
Yeah,
Just interested in cutting hair. But over time, forging your way through it, you end up in a place like this. You know, and then how great is it that you get to work with your brother?
That was
Right.
that was crucial. So I prayed about that, especially getting saved back in 2020. But like, truly wanted to always do something with my brother, because even though we were 14 years apart, he was still a role model to me. You know, like a father figure and stuff like that. But since we came into business together and we learned what it was like to work together, but also separate personal and professional, to learn that as well.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, but we do well with it because we both surrendered to God and we know that it's God ordained. And that's also helped not only our relationship, but I'm glad that I was able to be a part of him getting closer to God and his relationship with God. And so the barbershop and the business actually brought that together, and it really opened up that opportunity, that open door. And that's why we know that this is only the beginning for Legends Barbershop and also our new business that we opened up.
So yes, so speaking of only the beginning, it's Legends Barbershop, but you guys also own an online store for Elite Barber Supply.
Yeah, and
So
a
you actually-
storefront.
So one of the things I'm actually kind of excited about is I've been cutting my own hair for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So my reason for doing it was obviously to save money.
Absolutely.
I've gotten to a point now where like I cut my hair how I like it. It's real easy. I just, sorry, but I do it straight in the nude. You know what I'm saying? I just jump right in the shower, get all the hair off of me. It's easy.
It's an easy cleanup.
Yeah, it might be weird here, but whatever.
Nah, you good, bro.
We don't offer that
Thing.
service. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't do that. Sorry, for you, bro.
But no, I'm actually excited about the online store. And like I said at the beginning, I'll put a link down below so that you guys can check it out as well. Because that's actually something I'm interested in. I go to a barbershop every now and then just because I'm too lazy and don't feel like cutting my own hair.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, I am cutting my own hair. So just like as an individual or other barbers who are watching this, I would highly recommend checking out the online store. Just over on the wall, you guys got some.
That's
cool
one of the
stuff.
things that separates what I guess the supply is. It's not just an online store. You come into our store and you put your hands on everything that you potentially want to buy and feel it, turn it on, turn it off, see how it is before you even use it.
Everything
Whereas
I've watched just been online. So.
Right. And you order it online and you hope it's good, right? But you really don't know unless you've used that before somewhere else. So it saves the hassle of ordering online and not knowing what you're going to get. You can come see it. I mean, you could have 20 different items.
Yeah.
And instead of going one by one, ordering and returning, you can just try it out.
I will say I'm personally looking for a new set of clippers just because the cheap pair that I bought on Amazon is just constantly losing its charge faster and faster and faster.
Well, and that's where, like, especially being a barber, I can relate and help people out, other barbers and even people that aren't barbers but like to cut their own hair, trim themselves up at home. I can
I'm a
relate
big fan
in
of
every
straight
aspect.
razors. I like a good looking
Straight
pair of
razors
straight
too.
We have a
Makes
lot
me
of
feel like an
options.
old
Right.
classic barbershop,
But,
man.
And that's why, like, I'm grateful because I've always wanted to try and do something like that. And when I told Adam and he was about it, and then it became our thing, like together, we were going to do it together. And I knew for a fact that it would prosper and the Lord was going to go ahead and bless it. But and a lot of people know this, but you'll have people who are not barbers that run barber supplies, people who are not barbers that come into our industry. Nothing wrong with it, but they're not barbers. They can't relate in the barber aspect, and they're just trying to get into the industry because the industry is growing rapidly. I mean, I think as of 2023, 2024, it was at over 180 million recorded, like just the revenue stream of the barber industry in the U.S. And so,
I will say barber prices have gone up.
and it depends on market, it depends on value, but some people kind of go a little bit above their means because they put more value on themselves because they're being influenced by social media and barbers on social media.
How do you feel about that? Because I'm sure that's a question that a lot of people would want to ask. If I was watching this, I would want me to ask you, how do you feel about barbers raising their prices?
So I would say this. There's a guy, awesome barber. He educates all over. I would say if he wants to charge that price, he can be worth it. That's his opinion, right? But he'll charge $600 for a haircut.
That's a lot of money.
That's insane, right? Yeah, that's in California.
Okay.
Obviously, prices could be different in California. But I know for myself, being a barber, but then also our community right outside New Orleans in Slidell, Louisiana, there's a specific market that we want to stay in. We don't want to be too high or too low. We'd rather be right at the average market, maybe a couple dollars above, because I do think that we are worth more than the average. But I know for me, I'll never go way outside of that market average, only because I know I became a barber because it was a ministry that God wanted me to do, but also I don't want to go too crazy and then lose myself because now I'm focused on the money, so I'm gonna keep increasing my price. Some people can do that if they want, but I know that I don't ever need to go super high with my prices because I'm always gonna have people that want to come and see me, and there's people that pay me way more than what I charge, but I treat everybody the same. I value everybody the same, and that's how it should be. Barbers make themselves flexible and available for the clients.
How does it work with other people that cut in your store, with other barbers? Do you set their prices or do they set their own? How does that work?
So we have a base price, but at the end of the day, they can choose their own price.
Okay.
Because they're booth rent. So booth
could-
rent, they're 1099, self-employed, they can do that.
Yeah, I think the industry teaches you to charge your worth. Your time is valuable, right? And there's a lot of markets that you can do that, right? If we were a business to do that in Slidell, we wouldn't have a barbershop, right? Because you're going to price yourself out of what people can afford, you know? And I used to be a one that never went to a barbershop to get my haircut. I was like, I'm good with the $20 haircut that takes 15, 20 minutes. But it's only because I never understood what a barber was to begin with, or what a barbershop was, until he became one. Yeah. So then you start going through
when
the
you
haircut.
find your barber, you find
right.
your
You don't
barber.
want to leave any. I have good friends of mine that have a barber, and they never step foot in here. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, you're loyal to your barber, and that's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, and we support everybody, right? But there's a difference between going and getting a $20 haircut and a $35 haircut from a barber versus a non-barber. And you don't really get to understand that until you actually go through the experience, because not only is it the experience that a barbershop shows you and gives you, but it's the education they have to go through. It's the tools and the equipment that they have to use for you. You know, a lot of people don't understand. You go to cosmetology school, right? Which Robert went through it. And you don't focus on one area. You do so many different things because you have to learn so much.
I don't think you can actually use a straight razor unless you're a barber, correct?
Correct. You have to
Correct.
be a licensed barber or in an apprenticeship program through the barber board in order to use a straight razor.
Yeah.
Right. So salons and places that are not barbers or barber shops can't technically use it. But going through the barber program, how many hours is that?
The barber program?
Barber program.
The union or school?
School.
School of 1,500 hours.
And
It's for both
apprenticeship-
cosmetology.
Apprenticeship is how many?
Over 4,000 hours.
Over 4,000 hours. So think about that. If you go to cosmetology school, let's say it takes 18 months. Is that
Yeah, 14,
roughly
18 months.
depending on how many?
Yeah.
You're going to look at women's hair, long, short, men's hair, long, short, fingernails,
This is
eyebrows, all
cosmetology.
kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Cosmetology.
Cosmetology. Barbers and an apprenticeship program, because we have two great ones here, will spend 4,000 hours specializing in a men's haircut, shave, and grooming. It's 4,000 hours of somebody's time and dedication. That is worth something, which is why barbershops typically are more expensive than a traditional place where you get, a $20 haircut without the barber service. And a lot of people don't understand that, and I was one of them.
So
I did not understand that.
let me ask you this, just for me personally, or even the viewer, if they wanted to become a barber, one, how much money would they be able to make or looking to make, and how quickly? Because everybody wants, everybody wants to jump into something and make money quick.
Yeah.
Although just saying it takes time to get good at something. Okay, it is what it is.
Right.
But
Takes time for sure.
But yeah, if somebody wanted to become a barber, how quickly can they do it? How much should they expect to make in general? And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So one of the things, God willing, we will have a barber college somewhere, right? Because we want to be able to reach out to high schools and start attracting people and make people aware of exactly what you're asking.
Future plans, right?
Future plans, right?
Okay.
So because a lot of people do not understand that being a barber is a professional job. Like, it's a career job, and there's so many different avenues you can go after that. So let's say you're 18 years old. You're like, okay, well, I want to go to a 4-year college and spend $80,000 to get a bachelor's degree and then hope to have a job that pays me $50,000 a year to get out of college. Or can I spend $20,000 give or take to go to a barber college, but then you got to find one. There's not a lot around, at least in this area. Or can I go do an apprenticeship, which means I'm going to go to a barber shop. I'm going to find a licensed barber, a master barber that's willing to be my teacher.
Which is very hard to find.
Which is very hard to find, right? And you come into the shop and you're treated just like any other barber while you get your education. You'll be booth rent, right? And I would say it's fair if you're committed and you're willing to put in the work and you really have a passion for what you're doing. It's nothing before you're 21 to be making 6 figures a year.
So how long would that take then? How many years?
Depends on each person. Each person's different depending on how much time they put in, how much time they invest.
Let's say they're 100% committed. This is all they want to do. They don't have a wife and kids. They just...
I mean, I can speak for me personally. Like, when I went through the schooling process, I graduated at 11 months and they were projected 14, 18 months. I was grounded and pounding my way through. And then to really build up a clientele when I started out here, it took them about 1.5 to 2 years completely to really have a firm clientele where I was making consistent money.
Yeah, because you got to figure, right? In a normal work week, 52 weeks a year, 2,080 hours, right? If you're working 40 hours a week, you got a 4,000 hour program to be an apprenticeship. So if you just, hey, I'm only going to work 40 hours a week, it's going to take you about 2 years, give or take, to get through your apprenticeship, not including unlimited vacation, right? Because you control your schedule, you do what you want. Or you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work 50, 60 hours a week because I really want to get through this program and learn as much as I can. You can do that too. So it varies based on every individual person.
So I'll say this, in terms of like pursuing anything, there's willing something into existence and there's wanting something into existence. And you can't want something into existence. You have to will something into existence.
Yep.
So like any of the kids out there who are in high school and have cut their buddy's hair and they're like, oh man, maybe I should be a barber. You know, I hear they make good money. Really think about it. If this is something you're doing or want to do, just from listening to us, then really think about it and make sure it's something you want to do, because time is on you. Like you said, there's free vacation, right? You can take off whenever you want, but that's also could be a problem. You can take off whenever you want,
but there's no PTO.
You don't get
Correct.
paid. You don't get paid
Right.
if you're not working.
And that's a question of, are you in it or are you into it? If you're into it, then you're willing it into existence. You're not wanting it into existence.
I agree.
If you come in here and you want to be an apprentice under Troy or whoever it is, you know, you're in here all the time. You're studying. You're cutting hair. You're excited about it. It's pretty much all you're talking about. And I would assume that's the only reason you got it done within 11 months versus a projected 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And then starting cutting hair for 2 years to be able to actually make some decent money.
He had the passion. That's what he had from day one. He had the passion. He's like, without a shadow of a doubt, this is what I want to do. And I know in order for me to start making money to provide for myself and future family, I need to get through that program quick.
Yeah.
Now, where we're at with barbering is very advanced, right?
It is in the industry, but down here in like Louisiana and in the South as a general geographic location,
Really?
Louisiana alone is very behind in barbering.
Well, there's a lot of areas you go to. Men go to salons for haircuts.
Yeah.
But at least here, men go to salons for haircuts here. But other areas like different cities, like we went to Dallas not too long ago, that's not something typical.
Or apprenticeships, like in Texas.
They go to,
not a big
if
thing,
you
I
want,
think.
if a man's getting a haircut or a man's getting a haircut, he's going to a barbershop.
Yeah.
Right. Which is
Yep.
different than here, which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's actually why I started going to a barber.
Right.
Because I started going to, I don't know who it was. It was one of like the just generic chains. And that's when I found out, because I was like, I want a straight razor. They're like, oh, we can't do that here. Well, who can? A barber shop. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I want the straight razor. I want the,
Yeah.
Well, men should be able to treat themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Women go to salons, several $100s, get their hair done, right? And they look beautiful, and it's a great job, whoever's doing the work. And then men are like, yeah, I'll spend $20, but they've never had a straight razor shave or a hot towel shave.
Oh, it's nice.
Or a steamer. We have a barber that puts a little steamer on you.
I mean, y'all have literally the shower throne
shampoo bowls.
or the
Yeah,
shampoo
the throne.
is what it is. That thing looks sick.
That catches everybody's eye.
Yeah, I
for
don't
sure.
care who you are. Just that sucker.
But that was the thing.
Put me to sleep. Give me a clean shave and a hot towel.
A lot of moms come in here and say, I wish the salon I go to has that.
Like, we bought those because it was our investment, not only into the business, but the people that come in here. We want them to experience something that you don't get around here and be comfortable and enjoy it. And sometimes you got to spend money.
Real quick, I want to
for
say,
that.
if you're just listening, make sure to come back and watch it so you can actually see what we're talking about, because it is genuinely a throne. Okay.
Yeah, we have pictures of that. And that's what I meant to say it earlier, but it's one of those things that makes our partnership so mutually beneficial for us, is that we trust each other and we respect each other. We know each other's weaknesses and we know each other's strengths. Mine, I've been in the industry for 17, 18 years where I work on the business side, right? So when it came to designing this, we mutually had our hands in it. But like, let's take this floor. Everybody says and provides compliments on this floor and how great the floor is. I had no input. I told Robert, I was like, you pick it out. You make sure it's right. I was like, you know what you want. I trust you. You work with them. You do everything. And this is how the floor came out. And everybody loves it. Right. And that's where I think, a lot of partners are successful, is when they can have that kind of relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's trust. Actually, in the last episode I did, it was the 3 things to like marketing. It's a whole episode on like just business marketing, whether it's like for somebody who owns a business or they're like a influencer, whoever it is. But it all boiled down to like know, like, and trust. People who see you or who are watching this, they come to know you because we're talking for however long it is. Do they see you all the time on social media, or maybe they're sitting in your chair getting a haircut? They know you as a person. And through that, they can decide whether they like you or not.
Yeah.
If you click, they just like what you're about. Maybe, you don't agree on everything. But then they also trust you. Maybe you are really knowledgeable, informative. I mean, that's the perfect thing for being a barber, right?
Yeah.
They sit in your chair, so they know you. They like the way you cut hair, and then they trust you, and they keep coming back to you. That's why you have a barber that you always go to.
Well, barbers are not just barbers. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They're friends, psychologists. They're there just to listen. A marriage counselor, like, you name it, it happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of people come in here and they're like, I just want to sit back for 45 minutes and just think about nothing. Because the world is stressful as it is. A lot of anxiety going around. So for somebody to come in here for 30, 45 minutes and just kind of detach, dude, it's something that you can't experience in most places.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this, because I was going to say barbering is more than just hair. It's more than just coming in and getting a service done. It's a lot of that. But then it's also what I've learned, especially from my pastor and one of his pastors. He told me, which is part of why this is like my ministry, and I know that God put me as a barber, because the pastor said, Rob, I don't know if you know this, but you touch more heads than a pastor does. And the aspect of, you have an opportunity to pray over people, even if you're just praying silently or whatever, or you can ask them if you can pray for them, et cetera. But I have an opportunity to listen to people, right? I hear them, but then also I can let God use me as an available vessel for them. Because a lot of times, we'll play Christian music, worship, Christian rap, whatever it is, and somebody can sit in here, and I've heard it before. They wanted to come in, not hear anything, not talk, just wanted to detach from outside world. But then when they leave, they're tearing up because they're like, man, you had that song on and I literally can only hear the lyrics. Or I'll have somebody who wanted to give their life to Jesus in my chair because they said something and I immediately just opened my mouth and the Holy Spirit just went ahead and just led and went to just take care of that person. And so that's why I love being a barber, because it's more than just cutting hair. Yeah. It's a relationship thing, and everybody that sits in my chair, I've had people that just sat in my chair first time, don't even know me, like, hey man, I trust you. I'm like, that's a wild thing to say, man. You don't even know me. He goes, I don't know, man. There's just something about it. Like I've seen your cuts. I see how you react with your last client. Like, I trust you, man. This is kind of like what I want to do. And it's a blessing.
You know something sick? If you're listening to this or you're watching this, Troyer is praying for you without your consent. That's right. That's right. We're praying for you, baby.
I'm dangerous. I'm sorry.
He's dangerous.
And something that I want to make sure before we go any further.
It's a meme. I thought it was the funniest thing. I'm praying for you without your consent.
I love that. That's so funny.
I want to give a huge shout out to our barbers, because through everything, we wouldn't be here if it was not for those guys. You got Landon, Calhoun, Andreas, Zach, Alcy, and our latest barber, Greg.
And Mickey,
who sits right here in the middle, right next to Rob. So those guys are absolutely great. And we've gone through people through the shop. Some work out, some don't. And that's just, how it is.
It's just the nature.
But our vision and everything that we have here, they fully support it and respect it. And I think that's why everybody meshes so well here. And, I couldn't be more thankful to have them here.
I agree.
You can feel the vibes when you walk into. I've been in here, and when you walk into a place, whether whether you call it aura nowadays or vibes or whatever it is, you get a sense for what you guys are about when you walk in. Like from the moment you step in, you can kind of feel it in the air.
Yeah,
you should.
And I'll say, anybody watching, barbers are gonna hate me for this one, boy. Always ask your barber, can I shoot the basketball for a free haircut? We have a little basketball goal over there, and one of our barbers, Landon, he'll get a kick out of this one. He told a young guy, he's like, yeah, if you shoot it and make it, I'll give you a free haircut. The guy walks over, stands where we put him. Just nonchalant, throws it up, nothing but net. Everybody died, gets a free haircut. He owned it. So always do that. You never know if you might make it and get a free haircut.
I will say, I don't consent to that from my clients. All right. I don't trust that too much. You're going to have to work harder for that. I'm just kidding.
This is specifically for Landon. Landon, if you're watching this.
And Zach. I'll throw Zach in there too.
Oh, yeah, Zach, yeah.
Those are the basketball guys in the shop.
That's funny.
Hey, I will say that Zach and Landon are ballers. I'll give you all
Tell you
that.
what,
Y'all
though,
ballers.
that's what builds culture, and that's what builds the atmosphere here, though. Like stuff like that, when you're like free to be able to just be like, you know what, let's do something fun.
Oh, dude, they'll play a pickup game. They have multiple basketballs. They'll play knockout, whatever. They'll dunk on each other. It's fun because, like, if you're not cutting or it's the end of the day, you can wind down. And it's just, that's the best part about being in this industry. You go to work, but really you get to go to work. It's not like I wake up and I have to go to my job today. It's, I get to go to work and it's fun. I talk with friends. I meet new people, or I get to meet the people that are all my friends that come and sit in my chair. I mean,
you don't have to convince yourself in the morning that I get to do this. I get to do this.
You don't. It's just it's a natural thing when it's your passion.
Yeah.
I had somebody. I had a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, both who want to be barbers, and I was like, look, dude, get yourself a pair of clippers and trimmers. Just start cutting your friends. Look up videos. Like, you technically can't start a barber program until you're at least 17 and you have a GED or a diploma. So, man, if you start now and you get the kinks out now, and I have no problem giving you tips and stuff like that, but once you're ready for an apprenticeship or you're ready to just go to school and get it over with, like, do it now, because then, like he said, by the time you're even 18, 19, 20, 21, you could be making six figures, but you could be loving what you do at the same time, not going to sit at a desk and be like, I'm ready for a promotion. I'm ready for another job. Best part about barbering, you control your salary.
Yeah, there's I want a promotion.
You can work more. You can work Sunday through Sunday. You can take off whenever you want, but you literally can work any day or night. I've come in at 3 a.m. and I've cut in a client of mine who needed it before he had to go on a business trip. But we have the flexibility and the opportunity to do that. And,
can
It's,
also
and
kind
a
of
lot of guys will sit there and
kinda
work
work wherever,
extra.
too.
Like they're going to take vacation.
Wherever
they're
too.
going to go
House calls
somewhere.
and stuff.
Yeah, they're going to go somewhere for the birthday. They're going to take off, take their wife somewhere, their girlfriend. They'll work a little extra, and they don't even lose any money. Even though they took off a few days, they work extra to make up for it.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
not a lot of places you can do that.
you're also known as the like the know, like, and trust thing. You're known as the expert. You know, the more
Yeah.
people know, oh, this guy cuts hair, he does a good job. I mean, you could have a wedding party hit you up, and
Which
now
we've done a good bit.
yeah, I mean,
Like full on groomsmen. Like I mean, what we had like 10 guys for a whole wedding come into the shop, and I mean, they brought their own ice chest and everything, and they were just having a blast, and I was just cutting their hair.
yeah.
You know.
One thing I did want to ask you though, as we're like getting towards the end, is how did barbershops actually start? So when I'm like cutting my hair or getting my hair cut, I always think, because you see like in movies of like the guy's got like the long hair and he like wraps it and just cuts it with a knife like a man, you know what I mean?
Bro.
But how did and yes, they had scissors and stuff like that back in the day, but like I want to ask you, like, what is the history of it?
I mean, dude, there's a lot of history behind barbering.
Yeah, I don't mean to like get granular, but like
No,
just-
you good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I mean, even back, and like just a little quick snippet, but even back to like ancient Egypt and all that, like they made sharp objects and they would either shave their heads, they would cut certain hairs. Like hair became the type of appearance that would show royalty, would show, you know, if you're high ranked or if you're just a peasant, if you
Almost
will,
like a
you
class
know.
thing.
Yeah, just what class type are you? Same thing with ancient Rome and stuff like that. Like if you had red hair, they would use specific dyes from plants to make their hair red if they were royalty. So even in Africa, certain braids, they would use animal fat, things like that. They would make their own products from whatever they could find in the earth, and they would put that in their hair. And same thing with guys with beards. Like beards became a
Do
big
you learn
thing.
this stuff in barbering school or through an
You,
apprenticeship and stuff like
yeah,
that?
yeah, you learn history. Same thing with an apprenticeship because you have your textbook, your Milady textbook,
I find it
and
super
you go
interesting.
through history. But then you learn the history of like the barber pole, right?
Yeah.
But even back like in the Western, you know, the wild, wild West, and even back when, you know, America, everybody was coming to America, whatever. But barbers were called blood surgeons because barbers would not just cut hair. They would pull out teeth. They would be your dentist. They would take care of, you know, wounds, nothing crazy, you know. I mean, I'm sure some have amputated legs and arms and just crazy stuff, but because they were already working with sharp objects and they were cutting hair, they were like, you know what, we'll be a one-stop shop because they didn't have regulations back then. So they would have that stuff. And then when they use bandages, you'd have the white bandages, you know, but then they would hang it up outside to dry it after they tried to wash it, but they would be red. And then when they have that, and then they have, you know, all the other stuff out there, it would spin around a pole when they have it hung up on a wire, you know, and that's where like the idea of the barber pole came from. So like, you know, bloodletting was a big thing for barbers.
It's crazy. It
Where they
almost
were
sounds
bloodlet.
conspiracy theorist. That's how crazy it sounds.
I know it seems crazy because nowadays the modern day barber
Yeah.
specifically cuts hair.
Yeah.
They take care of men's grooming,
That's wild.
you know, from the neck up. So it's crazy how it's
I did not look up
graduated.
any of this beforehand, so this is all just like I'm probably gonna look it up after this. This is crazy.
dude, look it up. It's honestly interesting. Like even if you know nothing about barbering, but like just go look. Even if you're a barber and you're like, yeah, man, I'm in the middle of going through that part of the textbook, you know. But it's, you know, sometimes people don't like history, but if there's something you're passionate about, then you would like to know a little bit about your history of where your industry came from.
Yeah, I mean, to know barbers or current day barbers or barbers and pseudo therapists who they used to amputate legs is wild.
Take care of gunshot wounds, stab wounds, whatever it may be, you know, cuts, you know, other minor injuries, but even the teeth part,
Yeah.
pull it like those pliers and just yanking the teeth out, whatever it may be.
That's crazy.
See, and
I
if you
know.
think about that, think about value-wise of the tools, not costing much, right? Go ahead and put a number with all the tools you have in your station right there.
Just my shears
Just to
alone.
put into perspective how much barbers in today's industry spend just to provide a
Okay,
service.
well, let me just do
From
this.
just like rocks and stuff.
The
you know?
shears alone, because I got very high quality shears, were almost $4,000 for the shears.
Is that for you and your clientele both? Like the quality of the shears
Yeah,
improves
so it
the
makes
cut?
cutting easier on me, but also it makes it quicker and more efficient on my clients, and it doesn't pull their hair. Now, when it starts to feel like it's pulling, it means it needs to be sharpened, but you're consistently sharpening your tools professionally. You're not doing it yourself. you send it off to get it sharpened. And then same thing with all the clippers and trimmers, you get new blades when they start to get dull. But with all of my stuff, clippers, trimmers, shavers, guards, combs, brushes, shears, oils, clipper spray, whatever it may be, I mean, you're looking at, just in my station alone, you're probably looking at 10 plus thousand.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's a
Over
lot.
$10,000 an individual barber is investing in their clients
Outside of
themselves.
school.
What do you
And
need to
then-
get started?
Huh?
What do you need to get started?
I mean, if you're gonna get started with the basics, you get one pair of clipper that comes with guards. It comes with the comb sometimes. You get a pair of trimmers, a shaver, a couple combs, a brush or two. You get clipper spray. You get a station mat, a cape, right?
And we sell all that. in our
Scissors.
supply store.
yeah, it sounds like I'm gonna probably do some shopping.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
not.
yeah,
I'm
you
not
get that at the
joking by
store.
that. Dead
Yeah.
serious. All I got.
15 feet right there behind the camera. You can buy everything you need to start out.
Yeah, all I got is literally clippers and a straight razor.
Oh yeah,
I'm
dude.
just
and then, dude, and-
making
and
it work.
Straight razor is another one of those, but especially for barbers, dude, going in something like that, our new store, it's like a kid in a candy shop because you get excited about new tools, things you never used before, and then some people are serious about their brands, all right, and I get it. I have a very favorite brand, but I also have a ton of other different brands because I like having different tools for different things, different hair textures. Everybody's got different hair. Best part about barbering, it never gets old because everybody's hair texture is different. Everybody's style of hair is different. There's not one person that's identical with the same hair.
Well,
Cowlicks,
skin,
etc.
Right? People have different skin. So for me, I have him using a different type of trimmer because some of like his cocoa trimmers are a little too sharp for my neck.
He's got baby skin.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, my neck is like just red and irritated. I'm like, oh God, that looks horrible, right? So it's learning those things because everybody's hair is different. Everybody's skin reaction is also different.
I did, this is something I just wanted to mention. We didn't have to get too into it, but you can also basically give somebody the look of having a thicker head of hair through not actually tattooing, but something similar to it. I can't remember what it's called.
SMP, scalp micropigmentation.
Yes. So I had a friend of mine actually who they still got hair, right? But it's definitely thinned and you could see it. But man, they actually came to you, got some work done, and it looks like they got all their hair back again. And just for the viewers listening or watching, because everybody goes to Turkey to just go get hair now. I don't know, have you
hair
seen
transplants.
that?
I got very close friends that have done that, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean it really works really well. But what Troy does is actually it's like almost like tattooing
It's
your
basically
head.
like a hair tattoo.
Yeah, but it fades away, so it's not a permanent tattoo.
Yeah, it's like semi-permanent because we don't go like my tattoo right here. We don't go deep in the fat tissue of your skin. We stay in like the first two layers, like the dermis and the epidermis.
I think it stays for maybe like 6 years or something like that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and then you start to see it fade a little bit, and then you just get it touched up if you want to keeping the SMP. Or like I've seen a lot of guys get SMP just to slow the process down, and then they waited and they would stack their money, and then they would go eventually get a hair transplant, which SMP doesn't prevent you from getting a hair transplant.
Yeah, and it just gives you another option. That's the only reason I wanted to mention it.
It's all options, yeah.
And because it's on the upper layer of the skin, your pain is not nearly the
Yeah.
same as a tattoo, right? I have a full arm sleeve.
Most people
He's
don't
got
even
his
know about it.
tattoo,
That's
so-
why I wanted to.
Yeah, a lot of people
Yep.
don't know about it, but then also, a lot of people always talk about, they call them toupees, but actual hair piece units, which is what they call them now, that's a very big service too.
And-
Because maybe they want a full head of hair like yours,
Yeah.
and they can do that with the hair piece, and then you get it maintenance. You have a structure and a plan that you put in place, and then you go however many months to get a new hair piece. But you pay a good amount of money for something like that as well.
Right. So we have a barber who's certified in hair pieces, and then you have Robert who's certified in SMP. So the services that this barbershop can offer people, I believe, cover almost everything somebody would ever
Perms,
want.
color, bleaching, literally everything.
Well, with that being said, is there anything you guys want to say kind of in closing in terms of like where we could find you, something about maybe the online supply? I'm going to put a link down.
Websites, yep, 155 Robert Street.
Yeah, we're right in Old Town Slidell. I would say, especially anybody nearby, whatever, if you're a barber and you're interested in a nice professional shop, we have 3 chairs left available. And if anybody's ever looking for a good barber, to get a haircut, you can come to Legends Barbershop in Slidell. But then also for all barbers, cosmetologists, people who may just want to cut their own hair or maybe need a new blow dryer, whatever it may be. If you want any tools, products, anything that's related to grooming, we have that in our Elite Barber Supply store and online. So
blow dryers, flat irons, combs, you name it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're adding more and more inventory over time of different
Brands.
manufacturers of products or brands. So we're going to slowly keep adding. You know, we had to have a starting point, and we're just going to keep adding from there.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'm probably about to go look at a few right now because, like I said, it is like on its last leg.
Yeah.
But yeah, with
got
that
some
being
good
said,
stuff.
guys, I really enjoyed this.
Us too, man. Thank
yeah,
you so much for
absolutely.
having us.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah, been looking forward to it. I like I said, I know, like, and trust you guys. That's another reason y'all are, on camera now. I wouldn't want to have anybody that I wouldn't be able to trust who's ever watching this on the other end of, because I don't know who's watching this,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
want to provide some kind of value to them
Yeah.
in whatever area that might be. So
Absolutely.
yeah, with that being said, I guess I'll do like all the old YouTube stuff of like, share, subscribe.
Definitely to the PP.
Share
the
with your
PP.
family and friends. It's a weird way to share the Pedrera podcast with your family and friends.
There you go.
But like the PP. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I'm
That
just
sounds
saying.
better.
It's
That
funny.
sounds better.
People,
There it is.
people
There
gonna talk
it
about it.
is.
Like, man, what's the PP?
Hey, you
Like,
won't
what
forget
did
the
you say?
name. You won't forget the name.
No, you won't, man.
But anyways, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening and watching.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.